Today, we are going to unravel the story of Bitcoin. And trust me, it's a wild one. It's got everything: brilliant technology, a creator who's a complete mystery, and what is probably the single most expensive pizza order in all of human history. So, before Bitcoin, this was the question that stumped everyone. Think about it. If you have a digital file, like a song or a picture, you can just copy it, right? And paste it a million times. So, how in the world do you create digital cash that someone can't just copy and paste and spend over and over again? It's called the double spending problem, and it was the huge puzzle that had to be solved. And to really get why this was such a big deal, we have to talk about one of the most legendary transactions in the history of tech. It's a story that proves for digital money to actually work, it has to be way more than just some numbers on a screen. 10,000 Bitcoin. In the very early days, this was just a number, a little curiosity that a few coders and cryptography fans were playing with. But it was about to become very, very real. Yep, you heard that right. 10,000 Bitcoin for two large pizzas. This was the first time anyone had ever used Bitcoin to buy something in the real world. And it was a huge deal. It was proof that this weird internet money could actually buy stuff. Of course, looking back now, those two pizzas are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It really shows you the massive challenge of trying to figure out what a brand new type of money is worth and how to secure it. So, how did we get from a tricky theoretical problem to actually buying pizza? Well, the answer came from a totally new and pretty radical blueprint for how money could work. Okay, picture this. Late 2008, a paper pops up online. It's called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And the author? Someone named Satoshi Nakamoto, a name nobody had ever heard of. This little 9-page document laid out an incredible system that could solve that whole double spending problem without needing a bank or a government or any central authority at all. This is one of the biggest mysteries of our time. Seriously. Is Satoshi one person? A whole group of people? To this day, nobody really knows. But in a way, it doesn't even matter. The idea was so powerful that it just took on a life of its own. It kind of proved that the innovation itself was way more important than who the innovator was. Now, the invention at the absolute heart of Satoshi's solution is something you have definitely heard of: the blockchain. It's a huge buzzword, I know. But what is it, really? Let's break it down. When you strip it all down, a blockchain is actually a pretty simple idea. It's basically a shared public record book. Imagine a digital ledger that's copied and spread out across thousands of computers all over the world. The key is, once a transaction gets recorded in this ledger, it is incredibly difficult to change or tamper with. And that's what creates this brand new kind of digital trust. So how does this actually work? Let's say you want to send 1 Bitcoin to your friend. What happens next isn't magic. It's just a really clever process for making sure everyone can trust the transaction without having to ask a bank for permission. Okay, so first, you start the payment from your digital wallet. That request gets broadcast to all these computers, we call them nodes, that are part of the network. These nodes all work together to check and make sure that, yep, you actually have the Bitcoin you're trying to send. Once enough of them agree, the transaction is confirmed, it gets bundled into a new block, and that block is permanently locked onto the chain. Your friend gets a notification, and the Bitcoin is theirs. All done. No bank needed. Now, it's important to know that not all blockchains are the same. You've got two main flavors. First, there are permissionless blockchains, like Bitcoins. They're totally open, anyone with a computer can join in and help verify transactions. Then you have permissioned blockchains, which are more like a private club. A central organization decides who gets to participate, which is something you see a lot in the business world. So for a perfect example, Bitcoin is the ultimate permissionless system. It's open to everybody. But on the other side, you've got platforms like Hyperledger. They're permissioned, built for companies that need to control who can see and use their shared ledger. It's the same fundamental technology, just used in two completely different ways. All right, so we've got the network and we've got the process. But how do you, as a person, actually plug into all this? Well, it all comes down to something called your digital wallet. Now, a Bitcoin wallet isn't quite like the leather one you might have in your pocket. It doesn't actually hold the coins. What it holds is the secret information, the digital keys that you need to prove you own your funds on the blockchain. And these keys come in two very, very important parts. Okay, this part is super important. Your public key is what creates your wallet address. You can think of it like your bank account number. It's totally safe to share with people so they can send you money. But your private key, That's your secret. It's like your password or your PIN. It's what gives you the power to spend your funds. If you lose your private key, your money is gone, forever. If someone else gets it, they control your money. You have to protect it like it's the most important secret you have. So let's zoom out for a second. We've talked about the pizza and Satoshi, the blockchain, and these keys. What does all of this really add up to? What's the big idea here? This quote really nails it. Think about how the internet totally changed how we share information. The grand vision for blockchain is that it will do the same thing for how we trust each other and exchange value. It's a system that creates trust, not through a big institution like a bank, but through math and code and an agreement across a whole network. And that leaves us with one final massive question to think about. This technology started as a simple idea for digital cash, but it could become a whole new foundation for trust. What does a future look like with fewer middlemen? It might be faster, cheaper, more open, but what new challenges would that create? That's the billion-dollar question that came after the 10,000 Bitcoin pizza.